Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be going over the top decks right now in the Covert Operations expansion. So these are the top 3 best performing decks, the most popular decks, and sort of my recommendation on how to build them. Now, actually all 3 of these will be decks I haven't really played personally. I've played against them a lot, I've seen other people play them a lot. I have been cooking up some really wild decks, and I'll probably be doing a video on some of these wild decks I've been cooking up in a separate video, but the first thing I want to get out is just what is undeniably powerful, undeniably popular, and undeniably probably going to be nerfed in the future. So, consider that if you want to craft any of these decks, consider that these decks might be nerfed and therefore making the crafting of them worse. On the other hand, if you have access to a lot of resources, consider playing these cards in their prime because they might be nerfed in the future. So we'll go through the 3 decks. I'll show how to build them since I don't actually have any of them made at the moment, and I will play a couple games on them, show them off, and I'll have the codes to these lists in the description or a pinned comment. So with that, let's roll the intro and get into the decks.
What a performance there by J-King.
J-King, full plot armor.
J-King is pushing himself into the ranks of the legend.
J-King is our world champion! J-King 7! What? The back-to-back cards world champion!
Alrighty, so the first deck we're going to be building here is going to be the much talked about self-credit denial. So we're going to be doing Japan, and there's been some builds going around with other allies like Finland ally or US ally, but we will be doing German ally, which I do think is the best. And to start off, we'll just be doing a somewhat generic Jaguar package. We're just going to be running a decent amount of Blitz cards. So we'll just run the 1k Blitz package, but you'll see a couple noticeable exclusions. We are not running Signal Regiment, and we are not running Type 93. And this is because neither of them have Blitz. We are going to specifically want cards that have Blitz in this deck. And then we want a bit of... We want a bit of self-credit denial, and by a bit, I mean all of it. So 2 commit the reserves, 3 air, land, and sea, a Jake, 2 40th, 4 5ths, Great Expanse, triple one roof, and Desperate Measures. You want everything but Dawn Operations. So, as you can see, just the 1k Blitzers and the self-credit denial package is already 25 cards. How else are we going to fill this out? We are going to want some card draw. So, 2 Erratos. This is going to help us find a lot of the self-credit denial package, since most of them are orders. We are going to want 4 or 3 expansions. We'll circle back to this. 22nd is a maybe. It's a bit of a meta call. If you've seen a lot of AR, 20 seconds is going to be pretty good. If you're, although even then, that's not entirely clear. And beyond that, I think we're probably good because we have the air, land, and seas for draw. But again, we'll circle back to this. As you might be able to tell, I'm kind of trying to remember in my head how I wanted this deck to look. You're going to run a couple standard elites. So you're going to run Raiden Brigade just because it's really good, Audacity because it's really good, Bombing Raid and On the Ascent are kind of maybes. Shiden is too expensive. So Bombing Raid and On the Ascent, because of the one roof nerf, I think you're going to have to hit 4 credits much more often than if this one roof was 4 credits. So I think Bombing Raid's fine. And I think On the Ascent's fine just because there's a lot of air that's going to be having somewhat symmetrical buffs to their boards. And beyond that, I think we are good on the elite front. And then let us put in... Oh, of course, we are missing... Almost missed out on the... Am I blind? 35 feet. Here we go. It's what we're running Germany for. So we have our 35 keys, and there's some argument for Panzer Grenadiers because you're hitting 4 credits more often now. I would not have run this with one roof at 4 credits, but one roof at 5 credits. Panzer Grenadiers is more playable. However, I still think it's maybe just a little bit too slow. I mean, it's fine on the pop-off turns, but how often are you hitting those? So we've hit 40 cards. I've just spent a second to look over the list. The one thing I would like to get into this list is maybe one more Blitz tank. And there's a few Blitz tanks to look at. So, for example, I was thinking about SD. This is largely for your pop-off turn. So this is going to be for the Great Expanse turn, just to have another cheap tank to attack face with. That you're going to be buffing like +6, +6, +7, +7, etc. To just make it slightly easier to OTK if you get to a Great Expanse turn. Also, the adjacent buff is going to be pretty decent at clearing out front lines in certain situations. I thought about the Flak, very similar thing. Basically, it's 1 credit cheaper to play and operate on a Great Expanse turn than the SD. Obviously, the downside is you lose out on the adjacent attack. And the third thing, which I think is probably the most likely, is just a single copy of Panzer Grenadiers. Obviously, I could do single copy of Shinodo, but I prefer a single copy of Panzer Grenadiers. And I think we're going to take out an expansion with it, just because expansion with Arado is, less synergistic. So this is how I would build a deck, but as you can see, those are a couple of the different thought processes explaining some of the maybe flex cards. Because I do think the flex cards in this list are probably stuff like On the Ascent, Bombing Raid, the Panzer Grenadier, whereas the entire self-credit denial package you keep, and the Blitz 1-drops you keep, the expansions you keep. Absolutely, you need those. 22nd, I think, is a bit of a flex card. And honestly, we might take it out. I might take it out if I were to lather more on this list, depending on the meta call. However, for the sake of this video, we are going to be playing 2 games on this list just to show off how the deck plays and give you an idea of how to pilot it and how strong it is. So with that, let's get into the games. Alrighty, so first game up is against US. I kept 4 cards relatively quickly, which makes me think it would be frontline. And normally you would think it would be frontline, but there's been a lot of US ramp going around. So I think we're going to keep the Arado, just because playing Arado turn 1, just getting out the Arado early, it can be nice, gives you a few extra options. We're not going to keep Air, Land, and Sea. Well, we're going first. I think keeping Air, Land, and Sea going first is more reasonable. Because if we can pick up a 5th regiment, it's a very easy way to discount it. And if not, it's a very good way to search for something like 40th to then play, not on curve, you're going to be playing it on turn 4, but, it's a good way to find the cards that you need for the engine to go off. And then we'll toss back Raiden Brigade and Expansion. Raiden Brigade is considerable in case it's frontline, but for now, we're going to be doing this. And then we are not going to be playing Air, Land, and Sea on turn 1 ever. With maybe the exception of having 4 5th regiments in your hand and you're looking for the 2nd Air, Land, and Sea to drop them all. So our opponent is playing frontline, but that's fine. We can get off the Arado. And picking up a Commit the Reserves is decent. We're probably not going to play it until after the 40th. 40th is almost certainly going to come down next turn. And there's a chance that it just immediately gets suppressed, but there's not a lot we can do about that. Yep, we'll just drop the 40th. Even if he suppresses it, it's fine because we've gotten a self-credit denial off for 1 roofs, and it will have a 4-3 body on board that can be used to trade out. And he can't suppress it, so we get the discount on 5 cards. So that's pretty good. Now, I don't immediately want to just slam a 1 roof, because then we'll go down to 3 credit slots on the following turn, which is not a lot. I would love to keep the discounted tank in hand for a Great Expanse turn, but I do feel the need to trade out this board. On the other hand, he pushes up and we Bombing Raid. He might just drop a Sherman. If you were to drop a Sherman, how much would I care? I would have just an immediate 50-50 to On the Ascent, both of them. I could type 94 now to make this a 4-4, but then he won't Sherman next turn and 5th Rangers is gone. And the 1 damage from this I don't think I really care about. Although getting a value trade in is not insignificant. I think we just go for the value trade, and I will not push it up. As you can already see, this deck is incredibly difficult to play. A lot of decisions. So that's might be the buff all friendly units, but it also might just be Iron Man. Either way, we are going to want a way to keep this around. Or, sorry, a way to not keep this around, a way to deal with this relatively quickly. I think it's... Well, the Airland and Sea costs 0, so the only reason to play it is if I'm going to be using the rest of my credits that turn on something that synergizes with the Airland and Sea, which I'm not convinced by, because if I play it now, I can't play a one roof. What I want to happen is for him to push this up, attack phase, I reveal it on the Ascent on 4. The issue is that's not going to happen. I could just commit the reserves this, and then force reveal it now. So it is the buff one, and it does not buff anything because it has not been on the board for 2 turns. Yeah, Sherman's fine. We might just drop our Raiding Brigade and trade this out. Okay, we're picking up a 5th regiment. Things are getting interesting. I could just play 5th Regiment Airland and Sea. You know, get a 6/6. And we are now... Our one roof should be on 6. Expansion's really good if he double trades here, because we're almost certainly going to be able to take the front line. Problem is if he doesn't double trade, if he, like, half-tracks, or... I mean, even if he M10s, we can probably take the front line. If we pick 5th Regiment, it will go down to 2 credits for following turns, but I think we need to play for the card draw because of just how bad our hand is looking at the moment. If he drops an M10, we can actually just hit the recon and then on the Ascent the board, and then actually still be able to type 94. So my immediate thought is trade, bombing raid, push the 6/6 to the front line. Like, that seems ludicrously good. What else is there? There's type 94 here, win the 50-50 on the Ascent his board, take the front line, and then expansion, but that's a 50-50. And if I lose the 50-50, then I'm in a really bad position. So play this first, so the 164 doesn't buff it to 2 health. Then play this, that should kill everything. And then we take the front line with a 6/6. And even if it doesn't, even if he manages to kill the 6/6, the front line will probably be empty. And if it isn't empty, it's probably going to have a unit with 2 or less attacks. So that means Raiding Brigade expansion is almost a guarantee at this point. Second Devil's Brigade's kind of annoying. Just going to trade immediately. Fair enough. So we're definitely getting the expansion off. And there's not... I mean, I could Airland and Sea 40th Cav. I go down to 4 credits next turn. But I get to hit him in the face for 10. Have a 10-6. Like, you almost certainly can trade it out, but, you know, a 10-6 is a 10-6. Some alternatives is Raiding Brigade the Greyhound, Airland and Sea, hit him in the face for 8, gets traded by PIR, seems kind of weak, and I kind of want the 40th down. I could trade on the Ascent, kill PIR. I think we go for the Airland and Sea, try to pick up a 1 roof. Still no 1 roofs. I think the Blitz tank is probably going to be the way to go here. And I'm not turning down 10 face damage. 10 face damage basically means at any point if I draw, like if I hit a 1 roof into the Great Expanse, I probably just win the game. So he does trade it out, keeps Greyhound alive, that's fine. If he pushes Sherman, that's fine. Okay, I could just on the Ascent this. I could also Rain Brigade it, but on the Ascent, get 40th to the front line, draw a card, and hopefully find a 1 roof. Okay, we have our 1 roofs hiding in the deck. Not great. Not great at all. But we'll have the credits to play 1 next turn, so it's not like we... As long as it triggers. Sorry, as long as we find one, we'll be able to play it, is what I mean to say. And the discounted Greyhounds are actually great for the Great Expanse. So what's happening this turn for sure? 22nd Infantry is coming out, because we want to draw as many cards as possible. So this is happening, this is happening, this is happening probably. I doubt he's running supply priorities. So that's... That's 1 credit. My goodness, it's 1 credit to do that. And then I could play Panzergren, but that might actually... No, that wouldn't overdraw. But I think I want to Greyhound and kill Hellcat. I'm a little scared of him killing me with a Blitzkrieg. And I think we push 22nd. Okay, 5th and expansion. The expansion's good. The 5th's not particularly relevant at this point in time. Okay, here comes his Panzer Grenadier. It's going to be able to take a pretty big chunk out of the front line. You might even be able to take the front line with a Greyhound or 164th. However, you probably can't kill my 22nd, and then I can take the front line straight back. Okay, so he does have the 3rd Greyhound. But he doesn't play the combined arms. We'll probably... So what are we doing here? Raiden Brigade, 35T. So this is 3, push to the front line, 4, expansion. It's probably my best bet. Well, we'll drop a single expansion, see what happens. Still no 1 roof. We're dead to Hellcat, Combined Arms, Blitzkrieg. But that's what? 5, 6, 9 credits? That's... I'm dead if he has another 1-cost Blitzer plus Hellcat Combined Arms. Oh, Hellcat Blitzkrieg. So that requires 5... So he has 4 unknown cards in hand, and that requires 3 of them to be specific cards. But the specific cards I haven't seen yet. I don't think we can take that risk. I think we need to get off the expansion. And we finally find a 1 roof. Okay. Did take us drawing to the 15th card of our deck. With 2 Air, Land, and Seas being played. To finally find a 1 roof. But, hey, we've done it. Okay, there's the M10. I don't care about the 22nd anymore. Because I probably just win next turn. Okay, so what's happening here? Make room in my hand. I can commit the reserves now. Is there a point? Kind of. Okay, so let's commit the reserves and 1 roof for 12. Find another 1 roof, so it's 1 roof for 12 again. We just need to pick up a Great Expanse. And we're golden. So let's play Type 94 expansion. We have enough credits that I think we just start going for Jake. And if we don't hit the Great Expanse, I think we still might win. One roof again for 14. And Great Expanse. And he is incredibly dead. Okay. Well, we had what is that? 35 damage. Oh, and then we also have the Greyhound in the background, so that's a 45 damage turn. We started the turn with a Raiding Brigade in the front line and ended the turn with 45 burst. Well, I guess it's 43 burst plus the Raiding Brigade. Yeah, that's the credit denial deck. That is self-credit denial in a nutshell. I basically tried to hold on to the best of my ability, just doing regular Jaegro stuff until I finally hit a one roof, and then I just deleted my opponent with a one roof. That is how the deck works. Let's get into another game and show this off once more. Alrighty, so our opponent is Germany, who just kept one card. It's still probably Heinz, and he's just hard mulliganing for Blitz Doctrine. That is usually how Germany works at the moment. And you might, based on how much we wanted one roof last game, you might think I want to keep one roof in the mulligan. I do not want to keep one roof in the mulligan, though. We're just going to keep Arado. And not even going to keep the Type 94, because honestly, I primarily want to hit an Arado. I will start with the 15th Cavalry here, because it's incredibly unlikely that he has a way to kill this on turn 1, which means we get to draw with 22nd Infantry and force his first couple turns to not be just plain Blitz Doctrine and winning. There's a chance he's countermeasures, actually, and this is a careless talk, but I've seen very few countermeasure decks. But hopefully it's not that. It is a countermeasure deck. Great. Well, as long as we don't get bricked on card draw, we should be able to win this. It's possible that this is a discard deck. I've seen a couple people running the countermeasure package within Britain-German discard. And if this guy starts discarding, things could get really bad really fast for us. So I am just going to go face and pass. Honestly, there was some consideration for Air, Land, and Sea for an expansion there, just for the card draw. Well, I have the front line, but if it is countermeasures or discard, either way, I don't think not getting the front line is going to be too much of a worry. I've seen nobody run the Storm Brigade Rhodos, the 7/7. I've yet to see that card see play, even within countermeasure decks. So hopefully this isn't the first time we see this. If he just wants to keep passing and holding up countermeasures, I'm fine to keep passing, because I will eventually just win the game. That is sort of how my deck works. I don't really see a need to play 40th Cavalry here. It probably dies immediately to a countermeasure. There's a slight chance he has the suppress countermeasure, which would be pretty bad. That's just in his deck. He has not developed for anything. So let's play an Arado and then probably commit the reserves. Okay, well, now we can expansion commit the reserves. Things are looking a lot better for us. We don't hit any 5th regiments, but we do hit 40th Cavs and Air, Land, and Seas and Desperate Measures. So we have the ability to deny some credits. Condor. Okay, my opponent is cooking. And a 5th Regiment top deck. We could just go off on the 5th Regiment right here. I think I'm just going to play a 40th and pass, though. Well, like, attack, obviously. Please don't get suppressed. Okay, thank you. There's also some argument to just playing the 5th Regiment now. He probably can't kill it. I think we do just play the 5th Regiment here. Like, I don't know. It's going to get annihilated on turn 7, kind of regardless of its stats. And it's unlikely he's just running Tactical Strike. As I say this, he top decks Tactical Strike. But whatever. That's fine. Again, it was going to get annihilated anyways. And top deck a 2nd, 5th Regiment right on cue. I could just do 40th Cav, 5th Regiment. that better than 5th Regiment Air, Land, and Sea? Problem with this 40th Cav is it's not really going to reduce the cost of anything on top of this one. However, he probably isn't going to kill both. Probably. We'll see if this dies. Okay, Stranglehold, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. That's probably the countermeasure he developed off the Aufklärung. So we're kind of chilling. Floats 5 could be bridge too far. He also might just Wolfpack this. Rima. Okay, now that's not something I was expecting. So the 5th Regiment's coming out. And then we're dropping an Air, Land, and Sea. As much as I would love to pick the 2nd Air, Land, and Sea, I do feel like we don't need to deny that many credits. Like, this, I don't think we're winning on the stats of this single 5th Regiment. So I could just pick Bombing Raid, and that way I don't have to Desperate Measures. Now the question is, do I want to... I mean, clearly I want to push. The question is, do I want to Air, Land, and Sea to discount something else? And I think the answer is yes. Because if we can get hit a 1 roof... pick the card draw. Man, we are once again struggling to find 1 roofs. This is not how the deck should work. Like, I'm almost halfway through my deck, and I've played 2 Air, Land, and Seas, and I've yet to see a 1 roof offered. Like, that is not statistically likely. Let's put it that way. I've also, like, drawn with an errata already, which is, like, tutored. So we'll start with an errata. We're almost certainly Desperate Measuring this turn. Okay, if we are Desperate Measuring this turn, it means I'm going down to 3 credits. I think we have to Air, Land, and Sea, because we need to find an expansion or a 1 roof. This is an interesting one. We won't have the credits to play Bombing Raid. If we take 5th Regiment, if we take Type 94, we can clear the board this turn and get a 10-10 to the front line, and then just pray he can't remove it. If we pick 5th Regiment, it's 2, we play it, and just have a second 6-6. I think our better bet is praying that this all sticks. Whoops. Well, we made the slightly suboptimal play, but we're playing around expansion. Think about it. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Like, if he can kill the 12-12, we're probably losing the game. If he can't kill the 12-12, he's dead on board. Obviously, there's slight chance for heal, slight chance for guard, since he's French ally. Please don't top deck an Annihilation. He seemed pretty reticent to play other cards. Okay, so it's probably a bridge too far, right? Play around Retaliation. If it is a bridge too far, which it is, he gets to nuke the 12-12 and stay alive. But he doesn't get the tank. Why is he just running these cards in his deck? Like, he probably runs Blitz Doctrine, but like, oh, don't hit us with the 1 roof. It's not a 1 roof, but it is good. The question is, do I play Cavalry and kill this? And then if he has a discard, he discards the expansion, and then that's fine because I'm not playing it anyways. Or do I greed on my hand for the idea of being able to kill this, open up the front line, and then draw with Cavalry? Because on the one hand, I think we have enough draw in our deck that, like, we don't need to play, like, this draw in our hand is the only way to win the game. On the other hand, we have a lot of cards in our deck that can kill a tank, so it's not like if he keeps the tank on board, we lose the game. So I think we just pass. I think there's more lines to victory with this cavalry and expansion in hand. Okay, 2nd Brigade. That's going to start snowballing out of control really fast. And we've top decked the 22nd. You know what would have been a good draw there? Anything else? I mean, we have to kill the 4-1. And pray that we find... Okay, we're over halfway through the deck now. Still no 1-roofs. This is fantastic. Is he just gonna keep... Oh, maybe he's worried about Sheedan, and he's just gonna keep his guard in the support line this entire time. Okay, well, 2nd call to the colonies is... Okay, well, he doesn't push, because he's trolling. Okay, 1-roof for 14. And... nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay, so we're going to trade this out. And hopefully he continues to not push that. We kind of have one... Oh, he top decks the 2nd one after I play Raiding Brigade. Okay, we're chilling, we're chilling. I was about to say, hopefully we top deck Commit the Reserves, because it's going to be, like, probably the last opportunity. Technically, we would have had one more. But we're chilling. Do I have another Commit the Reserves? I'm trying to remember. I think it's possible. I mean, we're just playing Jake. We're not winning off of Jake. Jake can maybe take out the mobilization, maybe take out some removal. Maybe he doesn't take the front line. And maybe he top decks another Panzer J. And 1 turn too late. Okay, wait. We can draw, though. 3... No, we can't. We can take the front line, though. We can take the front line. With a Japanese unit. And this leaves the front line open on the following turn, hopefully. Hopefully. We kind of need to top deck Commit the Reserves next turn, if we even have one left. If we have any chance of killing that 8-12. Our opponents hit 12, and we're just going up. Don't push, don't push, don't push. He doesn't push. He does not push. Please don't countermeasure me. Okay, we have 2 draws. Well, 2 expansions, so a lot of draws. And nothing. But we have... We might... Like, the problem is the Great Expanse doesn't really do much at the moment. Like, we'll have infinite credits next turn, but the Great Expanse is only +2/+2 because it's so late into the game. Okay, he can't discard me. Okay, gain 16 credits. We just want to play cards from our hand to spend with the credits so that we get the most back on 1 roof. So we hit max back on 1 roof and get back absolute garbage. So we will be discarding every card in our hand. So get the units on board. Hit him with the Great Expanse. Trade out Leopold. Then kill the Stuka, so actually he can't discard. Then get the buff in. Then push up the last Blitz unit. And this might be enough. Maybe we should have hit. These both go to 5 next turn, assuming... Like, he's played Leopold, so that's the big board reset. He could Maelstrom, but that only kills the... Yokosukas. Pommel, that deletes 1 unit, but that's fine. If he hits the 5-5, he's griefing. If he hits the 5-5, it means we can trade out with just 1 Yokosuka. Hits the Yokosuka. So that does mean we have to double trade. Yeah, we still have to double trade. Or do we? Oh, it's bridge 2-5. Second bridge 2-5. No. Okay. I mean, we just trade out and hope it's not second bridge 2-5. Hopefully he's just dead hand. Okay. Okay. I got really scared there for a second. Second Rima. Do we have a second commit to reserves? Like, do we have a top deck lethal here? Doesn't look like it. The Rima was off the top, and we know these aren't bridge 2-5s. Do we keep our hand? I think we just keep back our hand. Is he gonna Phony War to, like, kill me on fatigue? Is that enough? That's definitely enough. If he has Phony War, we're dead. Africa Core for second Leopold. Oh, if we had gone in on the damage, we could have brought him to 1 after second Leopold. He hasn't picked anything yet, so clearly it's not second Leopold. Okay, he trades out the 6-6, but this is lethal. Okay, we didn't have a second commit to reserves, but we had all our Blitz tanks. And we won! Oh my goodness. Okay. Man, the stain power of this deck is insane. Like, I got so bricked for so long. My opponent had, like, what was that? Like a 10-14 guard with a Leopold. And we won. My opponent obviously was playing a bad deck and obviously made a lot of mistakes, but oh my goodness, we won that game from that void state. This deck is insane. This deck is absolutely insane. It's so much fun. But that is the self-credit denial deck. But that's actually not the most popular deck on ladder. Might be the strongest deck, but it's not the most popular deck. The most popular deck is actually Britain, US. So let's move this back over here. This is Britain, US Air. So what does this deck run? Well, there's a lot of different ways to build it right now. But we'll start with the essentials, the things that basically everybody is doing. And that is 4 close air support, 2 for freedom. Turns out for freedom, absolutely cracked card, as I mentioned in my balance patch video. And Greyhounds is an interesting one. We'll start with 2 and circle back to this. In the past, you always ran 4. Well, 3 or 4. And yeah, let's go up to 3. Might run 4. The problem is there's a lot of cards you want to run in this deck. Obviously, we're going to run 4 Swordfish. We'd love to run Piracy, but we'll circle back. 6th Airland Brigade is very strong. Albacore, obviously. 2 Bomber Mafia. This card is just incredible, and it's the only real AoE you can run in air. Like, you could run Carpet Bomb, but Carpet Bomb's 7 credits for 3 damage. This is 2 credits for 2 damage. And you have to wait 1 turn later than Carpet Bomb. However, you can play it on turn 7 with Pioneer Company. And you might think that this deck would be like a shoe-in for War Machine. But honestly, you don't really need War Machine in this deck. We're just going to keep going. And come down to Shark. I actually need a second Shark. So give me a second. Alright, so I just bought a pack. Shark is literally the last special I'm missing from the expansion. So I just bought a Covert Operations pack. So we're guaranteed to get the Shark. And hey, we got some other stuff. This is going to be great. Resources going straight into my already full crate. But now let's get back to the deck and put in the second Shark. You might wonder why I'm not spending my wild cards, but I have a hope and a dream that one day there will be a use for wild cards beyond crafting. Then we come down here to the card draw. So we're gonna start with actually just, well, we'll start with 4 Convoy. We might go down, because there's a lot of card draw options in Britain for Brit Air right now. Put in HMS Illustrious for sure. And then we come down here. So here is a wealth of options here. And these are different options that different people are running. So some people really like the MI5s on top of the Convoys, because they think denying their opponent a draw is very, very good. Prevents them from getting deeper in their deck, prevents them from getting wombo combo turns, prevents them from getting to their anti-air removal. There is, of course, Kitty Hawk, the forever 40th card of air, where just, like, if you run this or don't run this, it's entirely up to you, but it is always the last card you put in the deck. There is Research, which has just come back, and Research used to be run in air. Some people don't like it, some people do like it. I am a 100% Research believer. I think Research in air should be an auto-include. If you are running Convoys and not Research, you're doing it wrong. If you're running MI5s and Research, you're doing it wrong. You need Research. Then there is, of course, Ultra. This one's a little trickier. It is 3 credits draw a card, but you don't draw it immediately, and, you know, it might just be countering an opponent's 1-cost order. Is that better than MI5? Maybe. However, you might hold it up and then nothing happens, and that's definitely worse than MI5, but you might hold this up and it stops their, like, wave after wave, and, I mean, like, stops them from being able to combo into wave after wave. And that could be the difference between winning or losing the game. So, I am a fan of Ultra, but I think that is an incredibly flex card spot. And then scrolling down here deeper into the deck, some people are running Sea Patrols. I don't really like it. Spitfire. I normally am not a fan of Spitfire in air. However, there is so much air going around that I recommend running Spitfire in air just because there's, against other air decks, it's really, really good. A turn 4, 6/6 fighter is really, really strong against air decks because they run a lot of bombers. Sincerely Yours, you're definitely going to want to run, just because a little bit of extra health is quite strong. There's the Bow Fighter, new fighter, elite fighter from this expansion. Some people are running this. I don't personally like it, so I'm not going to be putting it into this deck, but it is up to you. Then we come down here. We're going to be putting in Sexton, because this card is just so strong. Wrath Lightning is also another choice that I'm going to say no for now. Personally, I would prefer Wrath Lightning to Bowfighter, but I don't think I want either of them. And to be clear, I'm talking about the 5-cost Bowfighter, not the 6-cost Bowfighter. This card is bad. And then we come down here. Mosquito is another option. Again, I think I rate it similarly to Wrath Lightning. But really, we're coming down here just for wave after wave. This card is really, really strong, and you're running a ton of cheap orders, so it's pretty easy to get a board clear off. And this is sort of the board clear on top of Bomber Mafia. That's like the bigger board reset. 4 damage to everything. Well, 4 damage to all enemy units is going to be enough, typically. And then we're going to grab the Wellington on the way out, and now we're at 36 cards. So what else do we run in this deck? Let me take a second to think about this. And of course, I actually completely missed Sea Embargo. So I said that I didn't think Sea Embargo would be that good, and said that maybe you'd like just put 2 of this in air. Turns out Sea Embargo it's not insane, but it's pretty good. It's definitely still worse than Close Air Support, and it's definitely not a 4 of auto-include in air, but I think it is a little bit better than I initially evaluated. So most people are between 2 and 3 Sea Embargo. Well, okay. Most competitive players are between 2 and 3 Sea Embargo. There's a lot of players on 4 Sea Embargo. I still think that's a little bit too much. But we'll start with 2 and go from there. And we're at 38 cards, and this is really where those flex cards start to come in. And it really depends on how you want to build your list. If you want to be heavier, maybe add some Wrath Lightning, some like a Mosquito, maybe a Bowfighter. If you're seeing like a lot of discard, or maybe you just are finding consistency issues, you could run a bit more card draw. Like you could throw in some MI5s. And, you know, if you're finding specific matchups, Duress can be really, really good. Just a 1 of Duress Suppress can be quite strong against a wide variety of decks, but especially Self-Credit Denial, to lower the stats on the 5th Regiment or get rid of the destruction effect on a 40th Cavalry. And Duress can be a nice trigger for wave after wave. There is also, if we come down here, Direct Hit, I've seen a lot of people talking about direct hit as, again, a good counter to self-credit denial because it's just one credit to destroy a 5th regiment, no matter its stats, and that can be quite strong. I'm not a huge fan of direct hit for ladder because there's just not a lot of self-credit denial on ladder, and there's a lot of Hinds and air, and Hinds can sometimes have 0 credit units if they get a Greif off, or sometimes just a big 35T, but air never has 0 operation units, so direct hit is never going to do anything against air other than just 1 credit, 1 damage, which is not that good. But again, it is another 1 cost order to trigger wave after wave. But I'm going to come up here and probably put in the Parasies, but to be a little spicy and to use some of the new cards, I'm actually instead going to put in 2 number 9 Commandos. And this is a card that I've actually not seen anyone play with in air, and I have not personally played with an air. But it's a bit of a thought experiment here just because it serves a similar role as Parasy. Now, the difference between Parasy is you can play this on a Swordfish that your opponent can't kill, and just lock your opponent out of the game. You're just going to kill a unit for free every single turn. However, that's very, very rarely happens. Typically, you kill 1 unit for free, and then they play a piece of removal on the Parasy or the Swordfish, depending on their deck and board state in hand. So it's typically kills 1 unit and then eats some removal, which, you know, is kind of a 2-for-1, but that requires you to have a bomber on the board, or a Blitz bomber, and there's not a lot of Blitz bombers in this deck. HMS Illustrious is really the only option for that. Whereas a card like the, I've completely lost where it is. A card like the number 9 Commandos can actually kill things from hand. So you can play this from hand to reduce the health of a unit, and then play either a Albacore to deal 1 damage to it. You can play a Shark to deal 1 damage to it. You can play a Blitz Greyhound to kill it. And then you can do the stuff like that you could do with Parasy, which is just if you have a bomber on board, you can attack with the bomber to kill it, or you can play HMS Illustrious to kill it, or even you can just wave after wave or Bomber Mafia to kill it. This just seems like a pretty good card. It's just 2 copies of a 1 cost destroy an enemy unit, essentially. And that seems slightly better to me than the 2 cost Parasy, which has higher highs but lower lows, and is slightly less expensive. So we're going to try to cook with the number 9 Commandos. Again, no one else is really doing this. This is just me throwing it in, but if you like the idea, feel free to copy. But again, Brit Air has so many flexible spots in the deck for you to try out a wide variety of different things, and this is just one build of it. Again, I'm only on 3 Greyhounds. I'm only on 2 Sea Embargo. There's a wide variety of directions you can take this deck in. So with that all being said, let's jump into the first game. Alrighty, so here we have the first game. It's against Germany, and again, it's most likely some variety of German Hinds, but could be countermeasures. And what do we keep? I'm a huge fan of keeping HMS Illustrious. I think this card is cracked. Greyhound is a very solid turn 1 play. For Freedom is a very solid turn 2 play. On the Greyhound, probably not going to keep number 9 Commandos, and we could keep Cast because we have the HMS Illustrious, and this is almost certainly not going to just get farmed. Our opponent would need an absolutely crazy start to get farmed. But it kind of does make me want to keep the number 9 Commandos just in case they do get down a very early autocannon or something like that. So yeah, we're just going to full keep. And this is honestly often what I do when I'm playing a deck that I am less certain of the mulligans. Because again, I don't have any experience on this particular deck. Obviously, I have thousands and thousands of games on older versions of air decks. Yeah, this is sort of my first foray into this particular build of air. I could Shark here. Just Shark him in the face, and then we do HMS Illustrious. And on 3, and then on 4, we do close air support and hit him in the face with our 3 bombers. The question is, do I want to keep this in hand and then do turn 3 HMS Illustrious, and then turn 4 Shark a thing for 3 damage, and then close air support and attack with 1 bomber? So the difference is it's a 3 and 2 rather than 3 sets of 2. And this does 1 damage now, but it is vulnerable on the board for 2 turns. You could do like Max Troop 35T. And that seems pretty bad. The deployment effect on Shark is really good, especially in combination with this number 9 Commandos. So I think we're actually just going to pass, because he might just play something like an autocannon, and then we can kill it from hand with number 9 Commando Shark, and then on the following turn do HMS Illustrious Cast. We don't need to play this on 3. It looks like our opponent just held up a countermeasure. So we'll just drop down HMS Illustrious because it is not going to trigger any deployment effect countermeasures. Jaeger Regiment on one of these, and then Sudden Strike it to draw. Okay, so double Sudden Strike, and he gets the front line. Kind of annoying. There's a lot of different ways. Like, Shark is going to deal 2 damage to this, so I can literally just kill this on board and then cast. Buff them both up. Seems like a decent possibility. I could also Shark just do Shark attack. I could do for freedom. I think Shark cast is like we're technically losing a value on cast. We're only getting +2/+2, but this is buffing both of the units. It gets it off of 35 T range. Obviously he could have Flame Panzer. There's a lot of Flame Panzers going around in the meta right now. But he does seem to be playing some variety of control. He has the Jaeger regiments. Like, there's definitely mid-range decks running Sudden Strikes. And there's aggro decks running Sudden Strikes. Hipper. Well, that's really annoying. We're just gonna drop a convoy. The Hipper delays the sea embargo. And obviously it resets the buff. But, hey, we're just gonna draw some cards, try to find some more planes. The sea embargo is a good card here to give us more planes. But our opponent now has 6 credits, and I'm still not really sure what he's playing. It could be a control deck, could be discard, could even be countermeasures. Or could just be like a German-US mid-range Heinz deck that has not really drawn any units. Or at least not played any units. Because, I mean, if you're against air, would you want to play some units to die to bombers, or do you want to play double Sudden Strike Hipper? Half-track, so it is the German-US Heinz deck. Send Swordfish back to hand, and then remove the buffs on Shark. So, we can't clear both of these. But we can just buff up some guys. Which seems like the correct line. It's nice to save. It's really nice to save for freedom. For a turn where buffing it actually matters, but I think we just want to go for credit efficiency here. So we'll drop the For Freedom first, see if we draw something else. And we actually do draw something else. We draw a Albacore. So I'm actually going to use this opportunity to get the 3 bombers on the board and not play cast this turn, because our opponent's only AoE is Bomber Mafia, which requires him to be at 8 credits. So we are safe for this turn, and then next turn we can cast, hopefully, on 3 bombers. Obviously, he might have Blitz stuff. He can do a Panzer Grenadiers and take out the 2/3 Shark. That would be kind of rough. And an interesting thought experiment in this game is every time I have a number 9 commando, compare the situation to how I would prefer it with a Paracy. Is it better than a Paracy, or is it worse than a Paracy? And then maybe make that decision for yourself as to whether you think it is better or not. Our opponent's spending a lot of time to think, which is a good thing for me. Another Jaeger regiment, so that likely means he's killing something. It is. He has a Comet. That is very, very bad for us. We could just slam a Spitfire, and that's going to put him under a ton of pressure. Yeah, I think we're just going to do Spitfire cast, kill this. We have a 5/5. He's running stuff like half-track, but this is threatening to deal half of his health next turn. So at the very least, he's not going to be doing Comet to kill a bomber. So if he does do something like half-track, then it is going to leave us with the ability to kill said half-track and then redeploy the 4/4 second half-track. And Zerstorer. That is really annoying. Could do 3, 4, 7 with 1 credit off clearing without losing a bomber. But honestly, losing the bombers is not super important at the moment. Um, I would love to try to get Spitfire back down here. But I think we do need to kill the Restorer. I could just set up for Bomber Mafia. Like, this is absolutely happening. I could set up for Bomber Mafia by just slamming Spitfire and killing the Jaeger. And I don't think this is the correct play, but we're kind of down too many credits, or we're down too much time on the clock to go for anything else. So this does give him the opportunity to clear out the bombers. It also gives him the opportunity to trade Restorer into Spitfire and just remove the Spitfire threat. But that probably means we're keeping at least one bomber this turn, and he's kind of destroying his board. And we can actually create some pretty big boards pretty quickly with this deck. He has Bomber Mafia of his own. That's something I probably should have considered. That's going to let him deal with this quite easily. But again, the left 5 credits left over, but if he takes this trade, we stick a bomber, at least for now. Okay, so he does take the Spitfire credit trade, and then he has Heinkel, which the Heinkel does walk into the Bomber Mafia. So does the Off-Clawing. So obviously, always start with Bomber Mafia if you're on 8 credits. And what do we get? Catalina would be a very nice pick here, but anything we pick is going to die immediately to Comet, so let's just pick the thing that adds a gunship mission to our hand. This is the most proactive thing we could do here. And then we'll probably do Convoy Sea Embargo, depending on the draws. Shark's a good pickup. Number 9 Commando's probably fine. And Albacore is nice, but we're going to do Kitty Hawk. I think we need to try to burn out our opponent to some extent. And I know I'm saying that as he has started the turn with full health. But I do think just picking a slightly meatier, higher value card doesn't get farmed by Comet. Obviously, him trying to farm me with Comet is very, very expensive for him, and we have a lot of cheap stuff, so if he does try to just continuously farm me with Comet, we might just get out. And he has Sky Barons. Okay, so this guy has Comet, Sky Barons, double Sudden Strike, double Half Track. It is, and there's the Panzer Grenadiers. This is not looking great. Okay, so we can Shark to clear this, and we can get a Greyhound to the front line. Right, this is 4, 6, and then we can even hit him in the face. Do we want to save this for Cass? We have 2 Cass in deck. Maybe it's better to save this for a Cass board. Like, maybe it's better to just be slightly more reactive, try to find a... Boy, the problem is he kills me incredibly quickly. So, here we go. We'll just take out the Panzer Grenadiers. We have him on 15, which is not nearly enough to kill him, but hopefully he's not running FWs. I've seen very, very few FWs this expansion. Honestly, this Restorer is a bit of a surprise, but not particularly. It's a card I haven't seen a lot of, but it's not that surprising to me that it's coming back due to just the amount of air on ladder. Top deck Nakshub is going to be very, very good for him. Might unlock a couple of credits. It's also the cheap infantry for the 35T. It's going to leave him with 9 credits left over. Has research. Okay. I feel like I'm kind of getting high rolled here. Does anyone else get that feeling? 3rd Jaeger Regiment for the 3rd card draw. And doesn't have the credits to calm it down the Shark. But he does top deck Panzer H off the Jaeger Regiment. He's running out of cards, so we could actually, like, it. He has Comet, but we could theoretically get into a position where, oh, if we hit wave after wave off of this Sincerely Yours, This could be huge. And no. So what are we doing here? We could albacore. Is it better to actually buff this? I think we have to buff this. Like, it's getting hit by the comet, but I think we have to buff this. And, of course, we draw the... do we have enough credits for what I am about to try to do? Not really. But, hey, we took out the stuff on the front line. He has the Panzer H, obviously, that can take out this, but deals 3 damage. So what I was saying before is there's a chance that we can try to just, like, outdraw him. Basically, I have the draw to go to the bottom of my deck, and if we can be reactive enough to not just have all of our units immediately farmed by him, and he hits a slightly lower value hand, then we could try to just out-tempo him to the point where playing Comet every turn is not enough. The Nakshub makes it much harder because now Comet every turn is 4 instead of 6 credits. And he sacks the Comet, actually. That is, I think he did not understand how that worked. He has the second Zerstorer, though. So he just made a pretty game-losing mistake, but he has second Zerstorer, so this is looking really bad. Does that mean the Shark is sticking? The Shark sticks. So that's interesting. We can... So this is 7, 9, 10. We can't keep the Shark alive. So is it worth going for? He still has the countermeasure up. So do we... This is 7, 8, 10, 11. So we do start with Gladiator. Foiled plans makes us go HQ even. Okay, so second Bomber Mafia would be really bad. Okay, he's playing the card he's top decking. It's not great. We can get through a Leopold, honestly, pretty easily. On this board state. Second Panzer Grenadiers would be really scary. But, like, surely he's got to draw War Machines at some point. Like, it does... Blitz Doctrine would be really scary for us. 35T kills the Albacore. That's fine. That's fine. Kills 1 unit. Catalina. Oh, of course, yes, the bomber off of the Bomber Mafia. And the War Machine. Okay, so he's out of cards in hand. The Catalina is absolutely dying this turn. Ultra's not... It's not a terrible draw. It's not necessarily the draw we were super hoping for. Kitty Hawk here is huge. So, okay, we've cleared all of the units with attack from the board. We have 3 units on board with an Ultra up. He's top decking. Okay. Okay, did we win this? Did we clutch this game? Top deck, second Tax Strike. Or is this first Tax Strike? Was it the last guy who had Tax Strike? Yeah, it was the last guy who had Tax Strike. He Tax Strike the 5th Regiment. Okay, Wellington's pretty good. Convoy, Cass, Bomber Mafia. Alright, we're just gonna start with the Bomber Mafia, see what we get. Pick the biggest thing. Slam down the Cass. And... Is this 4? No. Okay. This is not quite lethal, but we will, clear out the board. Bring him to 5, Wellington in hand. 1 cost Wellington in hand. Surely there is absolutely nothing. I mean, I suppose he could rip a Schwalbe. Knowing this guy probably runs it in his deck, but we got the win. And again, this is one of the things that makes Air such a strong deck, is just the staying power. You have so much card draw compared to the other decks in the meta right now. So even if you don't have necessarily the most efficient board turnaround cards, like Bomber Mafia is good, Wave After Wave is good. We never even drew at that game, though. Like, they're good cards. Shark obviously can have huge tempo swings, but it's not necessarily the most efficient tempo swings, but you have so much more card draw than your opponents that you have enough good tempo swings that you will eventually be able to claw your way back into a lot of games, because also just the sheer number of bombers you run in the deck really make it easy to snowball. As soon as your opponent gets into one weak situation, like they get one weak turn where they can't answer a big board of bombers that you're able to produce so many of over and over and over, then suddenly you just destroy their entire board, and then they don't have enough tempo cards and blitz cards in the game, or at least in their hand, left to turn it around, because you'll just be drawing more cards and putting more pressure on the board. So yeah, that was a game where we played from behind most of it. That's typically not how Air works. Typically, Air just gets on the board early and plays from ahead the entire game and then wins. So let's jump into the second game, and hopefully we get to show how one of those games looks like. Alrighty, another game, another Germany. Not super surprising. We're not going to keep Sincerely Yours just because it is pretty inefficient. We're not going to keep Wellington because even if it is a nice card to have in hand early to reduce it with a lot of orders, we kind of don't want to be behind on board. I am going to keep Pioneer Company just because the credit cheating can get out of hand really, really quickly, and we're going to keep Greyhound just for a solid turn 1 play. And Ultra Sea Embargo, not really the cards you want to see. I'm not having the quintessential Air experience that all of my opponents seem to have, because yesterday when I was playing against Air, every single one of them seemed to have Swordfish going first. But I suppose that is just how life is sometimes. We'll start with the Pioneer Company. The nice thing about Sea Embargo is, yes, obviously you usually want to play it on air units, but you can just play it for +1/+2 on a non-air unit, because sometimes that's good enough. I'm not really sure what our opponent's doing with the Jaeger Regiment, but I figured I kind of want him to trade this into, well, okay, he's going to have Nakshu. I mean, I have my 0-4, but his 0-4 is much better than my 0-4 now. And he's going to U375 the Ultra. Alrighty then. Convoy, and we don't pick up a 1-cost guy, which would have been really nice, but we do pick up a second Convoy and an Albacore, so I'm definitely not complaining here. Greif? Okay, so he's... What is he playing? And which of these am I supposed to kill? I think the Geberg's Pioneer is more scary immediately. I feel like there's more stuff he can do on 5 credits than... Right? Surely? There's more stuff he can do on 5 credits than things that will have... Like, unless his hand is like 4 Panzer A's, or like 3 Panzer A's and like a Panzer 3F or something. I think we killed the Geberg's Pioneer. Obviously, the Greif is usually the scarier card, but it doesn't seem like he's playing anywhere near consistently a consistent tank deck. We could for freedom this to look for a Shark or Albacore. There's 3, so that's like a 10% chance. Or we could just Sea Embargo it, get it out of 35T range, and our opponent is just going to surrender immediately. We're not going to camp that, and we're just going to queue into a 3rd game, but keep that in there, just for the fun of it. But yeah, that might be because I was taking a long time on my turns, might just be because I was playing Bombers, and he just wanted to know better of an air match. Either way, we'll take it and get to the next game. Alrighty, we have a 4th Germany in a row. And what are we going to keep here? We're going to keep the Gladiator for sure. We're going to keep Shark, just because this card is absolutely insane. I'm tempted to keep Close Air Support. We're definitely not keeping the number 9 Commando, and we're not keeping Convoy. It's harder to guarantee the Close Air Support on a Shark, but just having 1 Cass as backup in hand is so important, I find, in Air. Where if you have a 1-cost plane that you think is going to stick, a 1-cost air unit that you think is going to stick, you're fairly confident, I think it's really, really good to keep, it's really, really good to keep Cass, just because, you know, it's, it's probably going to be really, really good at some point, even if it's not like on turn 3. It's just going to be a really, really good card to keep, and there's going to be far more times where you lose a game because you don't find a cast in the top half of your deck than you're going to lose a game because you have too many casts and you've lost board control if you are keeping a 1-cost air unit. Now, the reason I'm thinking on this turn is the 6th Alien Brigade really makes things interesting. This is a better use of the curve. And if he, it fits into Chaos Talk better, although if you had it, you probably would have played it the previous turn. And, just getting a 2/5 Fury to the front line, not bad. Obviously, this does take these out of the 1 attack range, so they don't deal 3. But I think that's fine in exchange for +1/+1. And our opponent's thinking. Might be a Flampanzer. Reichsbank. Okay, that's mildly terrifying. We're just going to stick to the game plan, though, and get this to the front line. A 2/5 is a bit awkward to deal with. It can't just be simply Schützend. Obviously, our opponent could just, I don't know, slam a Schwalbe or something. And that would be pretty sad, but... So it's Alpine. Okay, so it's Alpine with big stuff. I kind of wish I had my number 9 commandos back. So this comes down and does 3 damage, which isn't enough to kill anything. I could, for freedom, the guy in the front line just to keep it alive. And we find the bomber that we're looking for, so we're going to place this here, and then Shark down here. Now, obviously, I could have dealt the 4 damage to the 7th Alpini, because it's the bigger card, but against Alpine, you want to be removing Alpine units, typically more so than you want to be damaging the big guys. And also, the guy I killed can snowball very, very quickly. So he has the Heinkel to get rid of it. We have the 3rd close air support, though. And, sometimes air just does this. Sometimes air just really cheats. And honestly, I'm tempted to hit him for 4. Rather than let him keep this. Although, we're just going to kill it. He has the 25 heal, and he's running 7th Alpinis. It seems difficult to imagine being able to burn him down, and I'm mostly just likely going to just be value trading out the Alpinis every turn with the bombers. Brooks Pioneer, that's going to get hit by the 2/4 probably. 3/3 second Alpini, that's getting bombed. And nothing else, so the other ones are going face. I could even actually do this. And we're going to draw last. Yeah, make fun of me. I deserve it. But yeah, we're going to value the health on our units, and we're going to value the 2 extra credits. Not wasting 2 credits to get the convoy off now, get some extra resources in hand to respond if he starts slamming down Flame Panzers and Sudden Strikes, rather than the 2 extra damage into his HQ. So he's making a big board. Convoy top deck is fantastic. Although, honestly, I could push Gladiator here. If I push Gladiator here, it lets me get down the Greyhound, and then I can take out all of his guys. Does give him the option for Fiat to trade into Gladiator here. But I feel like leaving him with 0 Alpine units is going to be pretty good. So take his guys out like this. I could play another Gladiator, but I'm a little scared he's going to have some sort of AoE. Obviously, I could hit this, but I think it's very likely that this Fiat is just going to hit here. So we're going to hit face. We have the wave after wave as well, so that's going to help make a big comeback. He does make the trade that I expected, and he has Mountain Offensive, 3/3, and 4/5. Top deck Shark, that does 4 damage. We can bring it up to 5 damage with the Gladiator. And I know I said I didn't want to overextend And we are once again going to draw a little, well, nah, we're actually going to take the damage in this situation. So this trade is happening. And I do think I will value the damage face, the 3 damage face, over the playing the convoy this turn. It also gives us a guaranteed wave after wave potential next turn. Top deck Machi. Okay, that was not a card I expected him to have in his deck. Gonna start with the convoy. Hope we can find a commando. We do not. So we are just going to take out the Machi. And do I want to draw? Do I want him to get him? I think I want to get him. We have the research for synthetic rubber now. And then we have the Bomber Mafia for 2 damage face. And at this point, I have no idea what he's playing, so like it's not like I can clearly set up like an Ultra or something if I have a read on what he's up to. I have no idea what this guy's doing. So I just spams out a bunch more Alpine guys. I could Pioneer first. I'm kind of worried he's going to have some sort of countermeasure, because again, this guy could be playing literally anything. I could also Royal Research upgrade wave after wave, hit face for 2. Which seems better to me, actually. Decisive Defense has been rotated, so I don't have to worry about that, which is kind of nice. So yeah, we're just threatening lethal. He has 3 cards. Slams the Leopold, but it does give us Shark back. Is this lethal? This is 9-11. So we're 1 off lethal. We can put him to 1 with Shark in hand. Doesn't seem terrible. Drop the Bomber Mafia. I mean, I'll just pick Catalina because maybe it has a use case at some point. And honestly, let's just play Catalina first. That way, if it was Stranglehold, at least he would be pressured. I suppose I should have held up Ultra in that case. But we'll hold up Ultra now. Leopold's gone. He clearly doesn't have Schwalbe in hand. Just hold up the Ultra in case there's some shenanigans. We have lethal from hand. We have lethal on board. And he surrenders. So yeah, that is much more like I don't know if I'd say normal air game, just because of what our opponent was doing. It's not a particularly common thing, but that is much more a standard experience on air in sort of broad strokes of just getting down the bombers early, buffing the bombers early, and then just absolutely dominating the opponent's units, because they're largely ground units right now in the meta. And, you know, when they do play a couple air units, you just get through them the best you can, and try to just maintain the tempo. And then also utilize your crazy card draw. So that is the air deck. Again, a lot of very, very popular on ladder. And then the third list that we're going to look at here is just a Blitz Doctrine list. So this one is a little bit different than the other ones, where the other ones are Britain, US air, very, very popular. Japan, Germany, self-guided denial, pretty inarguably the best way to build the deck, or at least the best nation combinations for the deck. But what we are going to be looking at here is Blitz Doctrine. And this is just going to be decks utilizing this card. So if you don't remember, it's develop a German light tank, so a tank that costs 3 or less, a German tank that costs 3 or less, add Contest Doctrine to hand, and Contest Doctrine is 3 credits, develop a German tank that costs 4 or more. All tanks you deploy this battle get +1/+1 for the rest of the game. And you can run 2 of these. So this card is absolutely insane. This card is just completely and utterly broken, and just everyone and their mother is trying to find the best way to utilize this card to its best potential, and what that is right now is very, very unclear. So there's a lot of people playing German Finland Heinz, where you're using Lotus Fard and just dumping a bunch of buffed tanks, reducing their operation cost and buffing their health with Lotus Fard. and trying to snowball the board that way. There's people doing German US Heinz, which is sort of the traditional Heinz build where you're using stuff like Greyhounds for just additional cheap Blitz tanks. And you might include War Machines if you want to do more of a mid-range build. There's some people just running Blitz Doctrine in a regular mid-range list that only runs, say, the normal tanks, maybe a little, slightly more than the normal number of tanks. But turns out, even if you only run like 15 tanks in your deck, Blitz Doctrine is still an insane card. People are running it in US-German mid-range, and I have a couple lists doing it with Yank it's really fun. Not the optimal way to do it, but it is really fun to sort of build like a quasi-Yank Blitz Doctrine mid-range list. Ton of fun, would recommend, might make a video on that in the future. But what the best way to build Blitz Doctrine decks is very, very unclear. So what I'm going to show you today is just going to be a German-US Blitz Doctrine deck. But this is not necessarily the best way to build this deck, to be very, very clear. And this is not necessarily the most popular way to build this deck. This is just the most, like, bread and butter standard way I can think of building this list. So what goes into this list? Well, we're going to have an Naxxub, because obviously Naxxub's insane. I'm a huge fan of Errata. I think Errata is a really, really great card, and it's going to help us find our Blitz Doctrines, which we're going to be putting in. We're going to be putting in the 3 copies of the 738 Jaeger Regiment. This card's absolutely nuts, even if it is not a tank. And the first big question comes with Greif. Because if we're playing a mid-range list, we do not really want Greif. If we're playing a dedicated tank list, we do want Greif. And I think with the US version, it is better as a non-dedicated tank deck, but rather a more mid-range style deck that runs Blitz Doctrine. If you're running the Finnish ally deck, and there's even some people in Japan ally in sort of like a more aggressive style, but if you're running the Finnish out version of this deck, you're doing a much more dedicated tank deck and absolutely want Greif. Greif is a crazy card, but for what I'm doing here, I don't think we're going to be taking Greif. We're going to circle back to these Greyhounds and the Panzer A's, because again, not a dedicated Heinz deck. We're just running Blitz Doctrine. We're going to throw in some 20 seconds. We're not quite as slow as the old version. We're going to throw in some Bomber Mafias, because Bomber Mafias are incredibly powerful. We're going to throw in a Heinkel, incredibly powerful. 35Ts, absolutely, because what's better than a 35T? A 3-3 35T or a 4-4 35T. And then we come to the next big question of building this deck is War Machines. Do we want War Machines or no War Machines? There is a lot of arguments on, like, for running it. There's a lot of arguments against running it. Honestly, again, I'm not sure which is better here. And for now, I'm going to say no War Machines, but honestly, as we go through this deck, I might just hit like 30 cards and have no idea how to finish the deck, and then we circle back and put in War Machines. We'll have to see. But we're on autocannon. This card is crazy. Just putting in like the regular, really, really good German elites. Put in Dornier because this card is really, really good. In this particular deck, you know, sometimes you just play it and it gets removed and it's a 3-cost 2/5 fighter, whatever. But you know, sometimes in some situations you can just absolutely snowball out a game on that card. I'm gonna put in Flame Panzers just because we're gonna start with 3 for now, but it's really, really good against Heinz. It's really, really good against air. It's just a really good card all around. We're going to put in some M10s, we're going to put in some Hellcats, and we're going to put in some half-tracks. Again, numbers not final. But these are just really, really good tempo 3-cost tank cards that are going to be really, really good when they all have +1/+1. We're not going to put in Panzer F for the same reason we didn't put in Greif. We will put in Research just because it's a very, very strong card. And then scrolling down here, honestly, putting in Zerstorer seems like a pretty good idea, just based on Medical, with how much air there is. Panzer H, I feel like we do want Panzer H because it can help us find a Blitz Doctrine if we haven't found it already, or it can help us find the second Blitz Doctrine. Scrolling further down here, we do want a Hipper. I realize now that we missed out on the... Where is it? Panzer Grenadiers. With how much air is going around, I don't think I actually want Schützen. There's just not enough people taking the front line, and if they are taking the front line, you'd rather just play your buffed up tanks than play 5-cost infantry, like 5 counting the attack. We could run Comet. Unsure about this so far. Could run Leopold. I think if we're running no War Machines, which is how this deck is leaning so far, I definitely don't think we want Leopold. So Yeah, I think we'll take Comet. Again, just a really good option against air at the moment. And then if we're at 39 cards, but again, we can remove some of those 3-cost guys. Scroll down here, and how many tanks do we actually have in this deck? So we have the Blitz Doctrines. They each generate 2 tanks each. So we have the 35 Ts, just tanks in the deck. 35 Ts, 3, Flame Panzers 6, M10s 9, Hellcats 11, Half Tracks 14, Panzer H's 16, Panzer Grenadiers 18, because the tanks you get off of Panzer Grenadiers count. And of course, we can put in some for freedoms, because this card is cracked, and those will be the last 2 US slots. Just scrolling through here, let's sort by tank. Is there any tank in here that I don't have and would like? I think Stug 3F is a really good choice for the Heinz lists, just because you can play it on 2 with Smokescreen, can't be attacked by all these annoying British bombers until you can buff it and take out the British bombers. Also really good in the mirror, just because it can trade up into 4, which there's going to be a lot of 4-cost tanks going around. But I don't think we want it. Tanks down here, far too expensive. Tanks up here, far too small. I think we are happy with the number of tanks in the deck. So really, at this point, it's just going to be what card we take out to go down to 40. And it's probably going to be a Half Track or an M10. Even if that leaves us with 11 US slots, I don't think there's really going to be anything in terms of US that we would want in this deck. And let's take out a Half Track. And that leaves us with 40 cards. Again, a lot of different ways to build this list, and I will be showing off some of the more obscure, interesting ways to do it. But just put Blitz Doctrine and just some of these staple cards, like Blitz Doctrine with like Panzer Grenadiers, Panzer H, 35 Ts, Heinkel, Nakshu, Barato, the Jaeger Regiment, and you're just gonna be fine. Blitz Doctrine is just a cracked card. But this is this list for now. Let's jump into the games and show off how Heinz works. Alrighty, so first game is going to be against US. Keeps 4 cards. Again, a lot of ramp going around, but keeping 4 cards does suggest it is something faster. We're going to hold on to the Errado. Just because this deck doesn't have a ton of 1-drops it's going to be playing, but we find the Blitz Doctrine, so we're winning already. All of these options are actually pretty good. Could pick the Stug F to just play next turn. However, we might just want to hold out for Errata. We're probably going to be playing the Doctrine on 4, or on 3. So maybe we want the Panzer A, just because it has Blitz. It'll be a 2-4 Blitz, or do we want the 3-4 Smokescreen? We could also pick Greif and then play it alongside 35T and just make it operate for free, even without the infantry. I think we're actually going to lean towards the Stug. I think the 3 attack on the Stug is going to be a pretty important break. Like, this basically trades with most of his deck. And if he passes, we will just go for Stug immediately. Like, he's probably playing Ramp if he passes. He's probably playing War Machine next turn. So I think we got this body on the board. Contest Doctrine. Passes again. Alright. Might be doing Ramp, but with Milk Trucks. So we have these. I basically always pick the Blitz option off of these. Just because you're rarely playing the heavy tank. Unless you get the 4-4 Smokescreen, your Blitz tanks have +2 attack. That one's really, really good. Otherwise, you're probably not playing it on curve very often. This guy passes again? What is he doing? It's just like US countermeasures? I mean, clearly not. I just played a unit. It's just Ramp with a really bad hand. Let's move this back over here. Is it unitless? Might be unitless. Okay, well, I don't know if we have enough information to say it's unitless for now. But I think at the very least we can drop one of our 2 Flam Panzers and just start getting them. But yeah, the heavy tank option of Blitz Doctrine, you rarely play until you are basically out of every other card in your hand, and you just need to slap a big guy. So that's why I like the Blitz option, because if you're slapping a big guy in a either losing or at the very least you're in largely empty hand situation, probably want a big guy with Blitz rather than a just big guy. So again, we're just going to get him and drop out a tank to not overdraw. Would be nice to pick up an infantry soon. So honestly, the kind of the downside of this deck is it's kind of hard to fit in a lot of infantries. Now, it's decent to, like, if you find an action, you're just going to have an infantry forever, but, you know, having a lot of infantry is not easy. But again, we're just going to get them. The issue with unitless is it's hard to keep up with the stats that are in the game right now. Air and Hines are both just generating a stupid amount of stats, and then self-credit denial kills you from hand. So it's difficult to play a control deck. If anything, this game is showing off how difficult it is to play control right now in the meta. You know, he can start doing compromises soon and trying to heal back up, but at the moment, he's just incredibly low on health. Could just take this turn slow, go for the Panzer Edge Flame Panzer. Maybe that isn't the correct play here. Maybe it is just a Rado 35T combined arms. Hit him for 5. Based on our hand size, I'm gonna pick the infantry. And again, just drop down the tanks. With threatening lethal on board, this guy almost, like, this guy 100% has healing or removal for these. He's clearly playing some sort of unitless deck. Alright, gunship. AWS. I don't think you want to give me credits. I feel like giving me credits is not the play right now. Alright, we're going to drop this, this, this. 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 And yeah, okay. We didn't have lethal that turn, but, you know, he's going down to 1 health, and I have 4 units on board. So yeah, that is what you do with Hines against control. Let's get one more game in. It just to show off how powerful this deck is. Just Blitz Doctrine, man. It is a crazy card. Alrighty, last game of the video, and our opponent is Princess Aussie, a competitive Chinese player. So they're probably going to be on some sort of Heinz deck, German-US mid-range, maybe German-Finn. So with that being said, we have the Nakshu, we have the Arado. I don't think Dornier is a good keep going second. Obviously, you can snowball with it really, really hard, but if our opponent is playing Finn, he's going to have a quicker start than us. Maybe we keep it anyways, though, just for fun. Show off the Dornier. If he plays a unit, we play Arado. If he does not play a unit, we play Nakshu. If he does not have a unit, he has Blitz Doctrine, which means we are probably going to lose unless we top deck our own Blitz Doctrine really, really soon. That honestly makes me want to consider just playing Arado. Oh, sorry, not playing anything, so we can play Arado next turn. Problem is, if he War Machines next turn, we lose the game. But we're at the point of losing the game anyways, that I think we just wait for the Arado. Arado's not a guaranteed hit, and he has double Blitz Doctrine, so this is going to be the first game that we lose, but it's going to showcase how powerful Blitz Doctrine is, particularly in the mirror. The person who plays 2 Blitz Doctrines in the mirror wins the game, especially if their opponent plays no Blitz Doctrines. So let's get down the Arado, and then get down the Nakshub, and he might just Flame Panther the Nakshub, he might just play Contest Doctrine. Our one chance here is if he goes for the Contest Doctrine, we can start farming credits here. And we can get down the Dornier. So how do I want to do this? I can Jaeger Regiment, trade, we draw, and then I play Dornier. So nothing gets to the front line. But I do just get all these guys down on the board. And I think this is the correct play. Because it's going to be very, very difficult for him to kill Dornier. Essentially, it should be impossible for him to kill Dornier this turn. Outside of German research, I guess, for Flying Bomb. He hasn't shown his ally. The KFC was almost certainly picked off of the first Blitz doctrine. So, he has a developed light tank, a developed heavy tank, and all of his tanks get +1/+1, and he has a contest doctrine in hand. And then he has 5 other cards. He's just going to go straight for the second contest doctrine, so it's turn 4, and all of his tanks get +2/+2 for the rest of the game. And his hand is at least 3 tanks, probably like 6 or 7 tanks. So, yeah, this is a rough position. That is a 3/3 Greif. It is a 3/3 Greif we will immediately take out with Flam Panzer that gets immediately pushed to the front line. Which is good, and I suppose I will toss down the 22nd Infantry, just to get stats into the front line. And even though our opponent has ludicrous stats, we have Dornier and Nakshu. So this is going to be the ultimate battle of tempo versus just value, like just raw stats. And there is a chance here. There is a chance. Soviet ally. I've literally never seen Soviet ally. I do not know what he is cooking here. Maybe combined arms? That not combined arms, counteroffensive? Like, that's the only, like, combo I can see for Soviet ally. I guess maybe you just want sickles, but, like, I don't know. I feel like Germany has the best removal for this meta right now. So why are you running Soviets? They don't really offer much in terms of tanks. They don't offer much in terms of card draw. They don't offer much in terms of the removal you kind of want, I'm going to say. So this is in his deck. So he is just running, like, a full-on Heinz list. So that's good to know. So I think we just have to go for the value trade. We'll get another card draw. We could go for another 2-card draw. And again, just flood the front line. And yeah, again, we have the card draw that I think we just want to go for the tempo. Just flood the front line, get him in the face. Is Soviet ally means that he's not going to have access to bomber mafias. There's no AoE. The good Soviet AoEs are all elites. I guess he could run like enemy at the gates, but that seems like a wild thing for him to do. Okay, Heinkel, Panzer F. Panzer F was his top deck, so that is in his deck. I would love to kill Panzer F. I don't really see how. I guess Panzergren, Combined Arms, Trade. We go up 2 credits. Panzer 35T. Yeah, that's actually an option. Oh, actually, we don't even need to double trade, because this gets +5, or +3, so this trades immediately. Do we need to trade this immediately? Yeah, I think we should. Again, just take it nice and slow. We have a 7-unit board. We have 2 more 35 keys in hand. We have the Bomber Mafia, which is going to get some Blitz in. Okay, another Panzer A. Again, that is a card just from his deck. So we haven't seen the Yag Panther. That's the first big tank. So he has an well, the 35T could have been the second tank, I suppose. Flam Panzer is just a nice option here. This is going to give us the credits to push up Zerstorer as well and get him for an additional 2. So, again, I'm kind of worried what the Soviets for. We've only seen the sickle, so like what's he cooking? He has at least one big just tank in his hand that does nothing. He has the Spoils of War. Okay, he has the BT-7, I suppose. I mean, like a 4 or 5 Blitz tanks, pretty good for 2. 2nd Panzer F. This one could have been developed. Although, no, actually, we saw the KFC. But this still actually could have been developed. Might be just out of them now. Well, okay, we actually almost missed the fact that I have Bomber Mafia here. And there's actually a chance that I could have Bomber Mafia last turn. We'll pick the Blitz Bomber. And do we just go face? So this comes down, attacks face. This comes down, attacks face. And then this comes down, attacks face. We have him to 4 with B-24D in hand. So it's looking a lot like in the battle of tempo versus value. Tempo, like almost always, will win. Just, my goodness. I thought this game was going to showcase the power of 2 Blitz Doctrines, and it most certainly has. Like, what he has been doing is absolutely disgusting. But it's also showcasing the insanity of Dornier against an opponent who can't deal with it. Like, again, if this guy was just playing, like, a control deck and removed it immediately, or even just couldn't remove it, then it doesn't really do much. But specifically in this matchup, Dornier gave me so many credits, so many extra turns of just, like, the infantry moving up and stuff, non-blitz cards moving up. Just absolutely crushed our opponent, even though just the raw stats he was played out over and over and over. We also got decent draws with the 35Ds, the Panzer gun, etc. But man, that was an insane game, and that is where we are going to end off today. So again, all 3 of these lists are going to be in the description of the video. Try them out yourself. These are sort of the archetypal forms of the 3 best and most popular decks on ladder right now, but they might not be the best decks forever. Again, almost all of these are probably going to be nerfed. I would be shocked if Shark isn't nerfed. I would be shocked if Blitz Doctrine's not nerfed, and I would be shocked if something in the self-credit denial, probably the Great Expanse, isn't nerfed in the future. Maybe 5th Regiment, actually, could be nerfed. Yeah, so, you know, if you have these cards, start playing them immediately, because this is going to be their heyday. They're only going to get worse from now on. And if there's any other big meta shifts, you can be sure that I will be showing them off. And over the next couple of weeks, I will be showing off some of these wide variety of homebrew decks that I've been testing out. Really, really fun things to do in this expansion, even if they are slightly off meta. So if you don't want to miss out on any of that, please subscribe if you haven't already. Share the video, join my Discord, comment down below your thoughts on these decks and the expansion as a whole. And feel free to donate if you are able to. Thank you to everyone who has donated. And I will catch all of y'all in the next one. Thanks for watching.